compared to annexation. Will the village grant the request of the two current landowners who are requesting annexation? If this goes through, will they permit a detachment? I would guess not. But you know, Mayville is a unique small city. We have thousands of people employed in our industries in the city of Mayville. We need housing for our employees. In fact, I have a letter from the personnel director of our major industry that says that every month they have 50 employees that they can't find. And the number one reason is they can't draw people from the outside because we don't have adequate housing. So we need to provide housing. Final thing, and I know I'm going long, but I hope this is instructive, is that this is really a consolidation. Consolidation is defined to combine two governmental entities into one unit. And there's a general rule of statutory construction in Wisconsin. It's in Kramer versus City of Hayward, 57 West 2nd 302, that if you have a general statute and a specific statute, that the specific statute controls. There are two specific statutes that control consolidation here. One of them, and both of them, it's kind of interesting, both of them do require a vote of the electors. So, you know, here with this boundary plan, you're basically doing away with the town of Williamstown, and the electors will never have an opportunity to vote on that. They would in the event they follow the consolidation statute. So in both sections, the statute, ordinance passed by 2/3, ratified by the electors. In one section, the department has to make a finding that's in the public interest, and you would include in the interest of the city of Mayville. Would apply the standards for incorporation under 66.207. And those standards include that the entire territory be reasonably homogeneous and compact. Homogeneous has been defined to mean urban and not rural. You can't make that finding here, so it wouldn't apply. The density requirements would apply. The density requirements that in order for the rest of the town to come into the village and become a village, you have to find that they have 30 housing units per 1/4 section. They have about 18 sections, 18 square miles. 4 times 18 times 30 requires them to have 2,160 housing units. They have 290. They're not even close. It's a very rural district, very rural town. Now the second alternative for consolidation is a little bit different. You don't have the department review, but what is required is that the municipality get a boundary agreement with every other municipality that will abut the new village or town. So that would include Mayville, Oregon, Leroy, you know, everybody would have to have a boundary agreement. And why? It's so that they wouldn't be burdened with inability to expand because of the consolidation. I've run in too long. I do want to thank you for your time. I don't think that you can grant this because it doesn't meet the standards of the statute. You can't grant it because I do believe that it's a consolidation. You need to indicate it's a consolidation and not a cooperative plan. Consolidate and merge municipalities. And I do hope that despite all of this, that the municipalities can continue or can start cooperating so that we can have cooperative development. This plan cannot be granted. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Roger Wilson.
Roger Wilson. My wife Sue and I moved to Williamstown 16 years ago. We built our house and barns on Highway Y, bordering the city limits of Mayville. We moved here for the excellent quality of life this community offers to all who live here. I would like to take this opportunity to commend our town board for having the foresight to make Williamstown a village. They perform a very thankless job. They do it with integrity and honesty, and they spend countless hours performing their duties. I cannot see anything detrimental in the forming a village that will cause our lifestyle to change. On the contrary, this will allow Williamstown the ability to have more input into decisions on land annexation and other business that may not be in the best interest of the citizens of Williamstown. Village status does not appear in any way to cause our tax levy to change or increase costs to the citizens of Williamstown. What everyone wants is to make sure we continue to have the excellent quality of life and not to add additional costs to the residents. We think becoming a village would be good for all the citizens of Williamstown. Thank you.
Sheriff Dale Schmidt.
Good evening. Not here to talk in favor or against this at all. And certainly I do not want to sound like I am opposing anything that Judge Stork said. Would never, ever do anything to oppose what Judge. He may still do one of my cases, so you never know. I just want to provide some clarification on the law enforcement services for the town of Williamstown, Village of Kekoskee. Currently there is no contract, and there would be no contract from the Sheriff's Office unless they approached and requested one. Law enforcement services are my statutory obligation, and I believe under Chapter 61 for villages, it actually requires, before the law enforcement contract is required, it needs to be 5,000 residents, and the combined of both is nowhere near that. So there is no requirement that there be a contract for services for law enforcement, but there certainly are law enforcement services. In regards to the mutual aid from the city of Mayville, certainly that is a helpful tool. Recently we did, however, take up a substation that's in the city of Mayville at our Mayville Highway Department, which we have our deputies go to respond out of. So depending on calls for service, that may actually reduce a little bit for the city of Mayville. Not saying that that won't happen. But I just wanted to make sure that there was clarification on law enforcement services, that there is no contract. Certainly we do not provide any coverage for ordinance enforcement unless we would contract with the town or village. But we provide all other law enforcement services, including enforcement of county ordinances, which typically cover anything that the town or village would have in place. So thank you.
That's the question. If a place is less than 5,000 but it's incorporated, would it still receive county services?
Absolutely. Yes, nothing changes. The only requirement under Chapter 61 is that if it's over 5,000, then a contract must be in place or a law enforcement agency must be established. And if it's under 5,000, there is no requirement, but it is allowed. So either way, I think the combined population for both is under 1,000, so we're nowhere even close to that 5,000 limit.
Just in a matter of time, if there's anyone else who needs to leave early, I can call you to testify now. Otherwise, I'll go in the order I received the slips. All right, then next up would be Paul Soucy, S-O-U-C-Y.
Thank you. Actually got it right. Good evening. I'm not a lawyer, so I don't have any of that to speak. I did speak in the last meeting that we had here, and I didn't see the transcripts of that in the submissions to you, so I don't know whether you got those or not. My wife and I moved here 30 years ago plus, And we live just outside the map that is in the cities thing. They had a city that there we're about less than a quarter of a mile outside of that, but some of our neighbors are in it. I don't expect I'm ever going to subdivide my 1 acre. In fact, I don't think I can. There's been a lot of conversation here about city this, township that. One of the situations that has been that 7 times over the last 25 years where people in the township are affected by the city, even though they're not in the city. And I would mention they don't have any representation on the city's board. It seems to me we founded a country partly because we were being affected by somebody else who we had no representation over that foreign power, shall we say. We are in the township, we're controlled by the town. In the county, we're controlled by the county, but we vote for the people, supervisors in the county. We vote for our representatives in the assembly and the senate and the governor and all the people in the state. We vote for our national representatives, but us in the town, we don't vote for anybody or don't have any say over the city, but the city exercises control over us. And something about that doesn't sound right to me. There's been a repeated conversation. The thing is, I heard something in here about how in the last 6 months there was a letter going over and the city responded to it, didn't get any response back in the next 3-4 weeks before we had a meeting. We've had 25 years for the city to come to an agreement with the township, and they've always chosen not to do so. Because, why would you? You've got all the rights. Why would you ever give up any rights over the township? And that map that was on the website that the city submitted, here's our plan of everything we want to have control over up until 2029. And along with that annexation of the Shopko property was a whole bunch of property outside that 2029 area. So even though they have a plan, they don't follow their own plan. Is that right? They also spoke to landowner rights. The landowners need to have the right to annex onto the city, but they don't unless the city approves it. And they don't have any representation on the city's board. What we're asking for, I trust the people that I vote for more than the people I have no say over, that can control my land without any representation from me. There's also some of us that want to be in a smaller community that don't want to have all those services that cost those extra money. And I would also say we're sitting here in the Kekoskee Fire Department. When I moved into the town of Williamstown, my EMS service along with my fire service was provided by the Kekoskee Fire Department. I'm not sure when that ended or why, but I suspect it had something to do with consolidation to save money. But there are other fire departments around that have EMS that could provide it besides Mayville. And so if we have to do that, maybe we have to, but it seems kind of ridiculous. This is about, as Judge Stork said, doing the right thing, not necessarily always, what's out there. There's a lot of this I'll just throw out. stuff from the school district. I saw a statement from the school district that talked about various things. The district's concerned about declining enrollment. I would submit that that doesn't have anything to do with lack of development. I would submit that that has to do with lowering birth rates and other associated things that are the case all over the whole country, let alone, you know, the state and county. It's not just Mayville that's having that issue. Compact boundaries is Mequon compact, is Germantown compact. Germantown was a township at one time. It's 36 square miles. Mequon, city of Mequon now, it's over 40 square miles, and it does totally surround one city and has another one on the border. This isn't the first time this kind of thing's been done. I don't know, I just, when I read stuff about the extraterritorial, quite frankly, when I come to think of it, I think I'll be contacting my legislators to see if they can change the whole thing about extraterritorial rights, because I don't see why any municipality should have any rights over people that are not within their voting jurisdiction. If you don't vote for somebody, why should they have any access to control what's in your area? Thank you.
Gary Freund.
My name is Jerry Breton, RV, and I am not a polished speaker. I'm a retired dairy farmer and a bus driver. So the only thing I would say is stay in your seats. Otherwise you will hear something. But anyhow, getting right to it. My wife and I are not natives of Mayville. We moved here on our farm between Mayville and Horicon in 1977. We've been here over 40 years. We have 6 sons. They went to Mayville High School. All graduated from there. Went on. We farmed until like 1997. I sold the cows and decided we're not going to get bigger, so we'll just get out. And then I went to work at a construction company here in the Mayville area. My wife works as a janitor at Mayville High School. She's retired now from that also. But in 2001, our farm is located overlooking the Horicon Marsh and the Horicon Ledge. And we decided that we'd try to make 4 lots available on one of our hills. That is right next to a subdivision already that was established before we got here. It wasn't like we were going out in the middle of nowhere putting these 4 lots on. We went through the procedures, told it had to be called a mini subdivision at that time. And we went through the applying here in the town of Williamstown. Got the approvals there. We had to go through the Dodge County planning and zoning. We had to go through, because of extraterritorial zoning, we had to go through Horicon and through Mayville. Dodge County approved it, Horicon approved it, Williamstown approved it, Mayville turned it down. That was in 2001. They gave various reasons. Wasn't the right lot size, it's too big, too small. A number of the members on the planning commission were in favor of it. It voted for it and says, wait, this thing is way out of town, it's not close. You know, they were willing to let it go because it was gone again. But it was still voted down anyhow, and we were left there. That's part of our retirement. We're farmers, we're dairy farmers. We don't get a pension. We don't have a city pension. We don't have a business pension. That farm is our business. We thought we could They got in there for our retirement. It wasn't like it was different. We're right next to an existing subdivision already, so it wasn't an oddball thing. But anyhow, we continued on, and we tried again at different times. 2008, 2010, we tried it. Always was turned down. Just wasn't quite right. And 2010 is the same thing. It said we can, at that time, then the city told us, well, you can have 2 lots. We'll agree to 2 lots on that hill. Didn't make sense to us, but we were told either it's 2 lots or nothing, so we put the 2 lots. We haven't developed them yet. We've got them on the market. We've now given up as far as trying to develop them. We're just trying to sell that 6.5 acres as one parcel. And we'll let the other people fight City Hall, as they say. So obviously, I'm in favor of the Village of Williamstown, because it will change to be able to develop out there. You know, they talk about how they want housing development, but we've been turned down for how many years? 17 years now, basically, it's going on, because we don't quite conform to what they think they should want. They want their thing. It seems weird that we can get approvals from 3 other districts, but we can't quite get through Mayville. But anyhow, that's the way it is, and that's what we're trying to do right now. So I am in favor of what we're trying to do here in the town of Williamstown, and become the Village of Williamstown. The other thing I guess I would say then is, I don't think the town of Williamstown has ever tried to stop any development from Mayville. You know, if there is something going on, Mayville usually gets the way. Williamstown will work with it, and they'll get the annexing done, because we can't stop it, basically. They'll still get it done, one way or the other. And it's to the benefit, yeah, of both parties. And I think it will still continue to work and be the benefit of both parties, if both parties are willing to talk about it. You know, it's got to be a communication both ways. It doesn't always work that way too well. I think what was weird about when this thing all started in is bringing up the ambulance service and all of that. All of a sudden, Mayville says, wow, if we can't get our way, well, we're going to maybe have to find some. It sounds like somebody's trying to bully us. Like somebody's being, so, if you don't go our way, we're going to make it a little tougher on you. So then what are we supposed to tell our people in Williamstown? Well, don't shop at Shopco, don't go to Piggly Wiggly. That city is as much their city as it is our city. I think that's a bully tactic. You don't do that. Because, I don't know if they realize it or not, but a lot of people in the town of Williamstown do. We volunteer like for the city of Mayville. My wife and I do both are volunteers. For the Meals on Wheels, we deliver Meals on Wheels in the city. We don't live in the city. We live out on our farm, have for 40 years. We'll die there. I don't want to move out. But, and she volunteers at the senior center. It's got nothing to do with Williamstown. It's got everything to do with Mayville. We work in Mayville. We volunteer in Mayville. We're not threatening Mayville. I feel like I've been threatened when somebody says, oh, well, we're going to take this away from you. Never mind the fact that our lots where Mayville didn't provide us anything. They provide our police force. The county does that. They provide our volunteer fire department. It comes right here. If we don't get water and sewer from them, it's impractical to be out there for that. It's fine, But we provide volunteer because we volunteer, and we consider Mayville our city. So I don't think there's going to be any change in that feeling, but boy, it just doesn't sound right. We're going to take this away from you if we don't get our way. That's not the way it works.